the hardest part of that ring.
For the hardest part of the ring.
Hello and welcome to episode 156 of Hardest Part of the Ring, the podcast where four friends get together to celebrate the wonder of professional wrestling. My name is Adam, and I'm joined today. Well, I'm joining John in his own house.
Hello and welcome to the Mute Arena.
The Mute Arena, I like it. And Sam's here.
Hello.
We also have A. Jones, but not the Jones you're expecting because Brett Jones can't make it because he's too busy. But we have a dog called Jones.
Oh, look, this is the first time I realised that Brett's same as my dog.
Yeah, I've just literally realised that too.
Did you not name him after Brett? Was that not the plan?
No, named him after another friend whose surname is Jones.
Well, that's harsh.
Brett
There's a
didn't make the cut.
story there which we
Yeah.
can talk later about.
John, do you want to put the mic up to Jones's mouth so people
Yeah,
can
so
hear?
he's eating a vegetarian pig's ear at the moment, so you might pick some of this up. Oh, that's probably a good podcast. Oh.
Do they sell the pig's ears in pairs, or do they kind of...
No, you get single ones.
Okay.
This is vegetarian, it's not a real pig's ear.
So,
What's the point of making it look like a pig's
Yeah.
ear if it's going to be vegetarian? Like, why not just make it like a corner of vegetarian chewiness?
I don't know.
okay. All right. And this is our
Great material,
WWE
guys.
SummerSlam 2021 review. The last podcast we did was top 5 finishes, which I think we all had a lot of fun on. And was Brett on that one?
Brett was on that one. John, you won.
I was off.
How do you feel about our top 5 finishes?
I can't remember what they are, but I remember like them.
Oh, my God.
Rainmaker,
Let me try and guess.
Michinoku-
Michinoku driver, stunner. I'm out.
Rainmaker,
I'm surprised that got in the top 5 actually.
bank statement.
Thanks, David.
Bank
yeah.
statement's good. I'm happy with that.
Surprised about the Rainmaker.
I mean, it's good, but I just.
I'm glad you weren't on the pod,
Yeah.
to be honest.
I would have pushed for the spine buster actually.
You love a spine buster. It's not a finisher.
It's on Anderson's finisher.
I know, but I mean, come on.
Can I just say, I'm really pleased that we've mentioned that Jones the dog is here, because otherwise it sounds like one of us is aggressively being noshed off.
Do you reckon that's being picked up on the mics?
I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. All right. Well, we are together because, it's the what's the tagline for SummerSlam? The greatest party of the summer.
I thought it was something about your
No,
vacation.
they've got a new one this year.
Yeah, something around.
Your summer vacation destination.
Oh, okay. And that for us is Brighton, and we are at John's house. And it's the first time we've got together. It's the first time we've used this podcast kit that I spent loads of money on ages ago and haven't been able to use. It's a shame that Brett isn't here to join us, but we've been having a lovely time. SummerSlam, of course, was held on a Saturday night, which meant that on Sunday we were able to watch most of it. And then we've just got together on the Monday to watch the last 2 matches, which means we actually have time to do a podcast for once, which never usually happens. So obviously we're going to talk about SummerSlam after the break and for the majority of the pod. But before we do to that, oh my God, John's erect because CM Punk is all elite.
Yeah, it happened. It finally happened. We've heard rumours about it happening for what feels like ages. And it obviously happened on Rampage on Friday night.
Yeah. How do we feel about the fact that it was so telegraphed and it was basically everybody knew? Clever or a shame?
I think the way they handled it was really good. Like, I think it would have been an amazing surprise.
Yeah.
But also, when the kind of surprise got out, the way they still they leaned into it and all the kind of teasing of it coming up, it made it work. It was the most anticipated debut of maybe the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah, maybe more. Like, I completely agree with you. So, like, even in the promos, like with Darby Allin saying, like, the greatest of all time and stuff, like, little snippets here and there was really nice.
Yeah, I think it's, I don't know what the viewing figures are, but they must be absolutely huge. Friday night, they would have had surely loads of WWE fans who maybe haven't dipped their toe in thinking, all right, well, let's have a look and see how they present this. And I guess that was kind of why they were doing it, to just get people watching. And then people will just want to keep watching now, surely, and see what's going to happen.
It was so good as well.
was
Such an
so
amazing
good.
debut.
I can't believe they got the rights to the music as well.
Yeah. Tony Khan doesn't mind putting his hand in his pocket for this kind of thing.
It was epic. I had tears in my eyes the whole way through.
It was really emotional.
Yeah.
Just kind of when he was smiling and he said he just feels healthy. It's just like you want that, more than anything. Kind of with all the stuff that comes out of WWE and sort of the way they treat their talent, it's really kind of just pleasing to see someone who loves what they do come back and just be able to talk about it.
He's so good on the mic. You forget how good on the mic he was. Like, it just seems so natural. I think one of the benefits of, one of the great things about CM Punk is that it feels so authentic. Like, it feels
100%.
So real.
Like, I think what CM Punk does more than any other wrestler is that kind of, he makes it real. And like in a medium of people pretending to fight each other, you truly believe that when he's passionate about something, you get passionate about it. When he's meant to be hated, you hate him for it. It's just amazing. He makes everything so personal that he's engaging, even in a pantomime sport. It's fantastic.
Okay.
Thanks, Jones.
Thanks, Jones.
That was not a fart. That was just him snuffling at something.
Okay. I love the fact that he said that he hadn't really planned what to say, and it sort of came across that way, didn't it? It was like he kind of just spoke from the heart, but luckily he has the skills to be able to do that. Maybe a couple of bits and bobs that he had pre-planned, and I love that they just got it out of the way. So they didn't have matches of everybody chanting CM Punk. They just get it out of the way, and then you can focus on the matches after.
The sitting cross-legged as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's the biggest
dive into the crowd.
Oh, that bit was so good, actually, the dive into the crowd.
It feels like a sequel to the Pipe Bomb promo.
Yeah.
And just absolutely in love with wrestling when stuff like this happens.
Yeah. Jones is leaving now. He was just here for the CM Punk content.
Absolute WWE shrew.
Yeah.
Doesn't care for CM Punk.
Oh, he's sticking around now. He's got a little tease that the content might be quite good. And I think, like Jones, the dog, you listener should also stick around when we talk about SummerSlam after the break.
Hardest part of the ring, and Sami Zayn able to dodge that catastrophe.
I realised we could actually have spoken a bit more about CM Punk then, but it just seemed like a great segue because Jones was leaving. And
He's literally left the room now.
We're going to speak about CM Punk more during AEW.
I get that impression, yeah. There'll be more to be said about CM Punk.
It'd be great if we review all out and don't mention that match at all.
Yeah. All right, well, we're going to talk about SummerSlam, which was held at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the Oakland Raiders. And I believe this is why it was a Saturday night. Apparently, this is what... who is this guy, this Khan guy who's at WWE? Doing a lot of stuff?
Oh, Nick Khan.
Yeah. I think he was saying something along the lines of it's a... or maybe I'm getting confused, it wasn't him. But basically, Vegas is very much a Friday night, Saturday night town. And that's kind of why they decided to do it in Vegas on a Saturday night. Sounds like maybe that's bullshit and that's an excuse.
Yeah, they must have done some like pay-per-views in LA, I don't know, Las Vegas before.
Yeah. I don't know.
They made a big deal about Money in the Bank next year coming from Vegas as well. So I guess we'll see if that also turns out to be on a Saturday.
Works well for us though. It works well for any wrestling fan, I would think, because even the hardcore who want to stay up.
I don't understand why wrestling doesn't take place on a Saturday. It just seems like an easy win.
Yeah,
just America,
I swear
isn't
I've heard somewhere it's something to do with they've got like a deal with boxing, like boxing's on Saturday, wrestling's on a Sunday.
But all Super Bowl's always on a Sunday, isn't it? They always have the big sporting events on a Sunday in America. So there you go. The attendance was a whopping 51,326, apparently. Now, there's no doubt there were fucking loads of people there. I'm sure it's been exaggerated a little bit, maybe. But what did we think when it all opened up and you got to see where it was taking place? John, do you like how it looked?
Do you know what? It actually reminded me of like an old ECW pay-per-view. I don't know, the way they like the crowd just felt weird.
Really spread out.
Yeah.
I don't like it when it's in a massive arena and you've got all these runways and walkways with no people in.
Didn't really look like it was kind of fitted out for wrestling, kind of like with the way the aisle was. And
yeah. The entrance was shit. I like the curved ramp, but not.
There was something quite nice about it, like kind of how packed to the rafters it was.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I've gotten used to kind of like smaller crowds and more personal wrestling, which kind of I think comes across better at the moment.
Yeah.
Lots of good signage though.
There was some good sign game there.
There was some interesting signing, but I've got a bit of a conspiracy theory about some of this signage, which we'll get to in one particular match. The comms team was Michael Cole and Pat McAfee, We fucking hate Pat McAfee.
We've turned
do.
on Pat.
Oh my god.
I think you were in favour of him.
I
at
was
a
in
point,
favour of Pat McAfee for a while, and then he jumped up on that table and started dancing to Shinsuke Nakamura.
Oh, yeah.
And I just wanted to vom.
He's just making it all about him.
hate him.
This is the thing. I think he is good because he hits all the spots and says all the right stuff, and Vince will be just so happy with him, I'm sure. But he's such a pain in the ass. And then we had Jimmy Smith, Corey Graves, and Byron Saxton. The card, Sam. What was the card?
Okay, so on pre-show, had Big E versus Baron Corbin.
Yeah, won back his briefcase.
And then main card, AJ Styles and Omos versus RK Bro. RK Bro. RKO, but like with Riddle. For the Raw Tag Team Championships, we had Eva Marie, accompanied by Doudrop, Piper Niven, versus Alexa Bliss.
Accompanied by Lily.
Accompanied by Lily.
Don't forget.
Oh, God, yeah.
Damian Priest versus Sheamus for the US title. The Usos versus the Mysterios for the Smackdown Tag Team titles.
Yeah, I was thinking whether that's the first match with both teams ending in O's to appear on SummerSlam. I think it is. I think that's the first match.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, let's say yes.
Yep. Everyone's favourite match of the night. Becky Lynch, a returning Becky Lynch.
Hey, some people might not have seen this yet. You should pretend. You should say it was.
Yeah, technically it was
Sasha Banks
versus Bianca Belaire. Then it was Carmella
versus Bianca. But yeah, no, I'm joking.
I mean,
if
you
anybody's
put me
listening,
in the place to do the card, and then I do the card, and you talk me down. It was Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belaire for the SmackDown Women's Championship, and this was followed up by a toilet break. Sorry, this was followed up by Drew McIntyre versus Jinder Mahal.
You used to be a big Jinder mark, remember?
Still am.
yeah. What's his nickname again?
The modern day Maharaja.
Oh, missed that.
Yeah.
That didn't get mentioned on comms though.
No.
Drop that gimmick.
We then had a triple threat for the Raw Women's title, and you said Tag Team Championships there. Nikki ASH versus Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte Flair. We then had Seth freaking Rollins versus Edge, just in a match.
Yep.
Nice little match. Bobby Lashley versus Goldberg for the WWE Championship. And then the main event was Roman Reigns, accompanied by Paul Heyman, versus John Cena for the WWE Universal Championship.
Long old card, long old pay-per-view.
10
4
matches.
hours, 7 minutes. Thank God it was on a Saturday. So we are going to talk about our key matches first, and they are going to be 3. There's going to be 3 of them. It's going to be the match for the Raw Women's Championship between Nikki ASH, Rhea Ripley, and Charlotte, and then we're going to do those 2 big old main events with Goldberg, Lashley, and Reigns versus Cena. So let's kick things off with the women. 3 women in one match, 2 of which it makes a lot of sense to have them in a championship match at SummerSlam, one of which, Nikki. Have you been keeping up to date with this, following her story? Do you like what they've done with her, Sam?
Not a huge fan of it, to be honest. Like, I don't know, I think Nikki Cross, like from Sanity, was a great gimmick and a really cool wrestler, and I just feel like kind of the superhero stuff almost feels like it's a punishment come from WWE up on high for someone. Like, it's just not a good gimmick to me.
Well, it's probably not for us though, right? I feel like this is more like a kid's.
Yeah, it's a fair point.
Yeah, I quite liked, I hadn't been watching any of it, but watching back and seeing the vignettes that they showed, I quite liked the way that she's doing it. Like, her little speech is quite funny. You too can almost be a superhero, or be an almost superhero, but I mean, the crowd didn't like it. They were booing her, weren't they? Weird.
I didn't pick up on them. Were they booing her?
Yeah, she was getting a few boos when she was doing stuff.
The crowd were hot for her winning the Money in the Bank, though.
Yeah.
So
That was a cool moment.
I'm not sure. I like Nikki Cross as a wrestler.
She's a great worker. I thought she was great in this match.
I just think kind of... I feel like it's especially disingenuous to give her the title for 5 weeks
Yeah.
and then move it on.
How do you feel about the Hurricane though? You like the Hurricane?
I love the Hurricane.
How does this differ from the Hurricane?
I suppose it's because the Hurricane was the first time I saw a superhero gimmick in wrestling that I kind of was into, and I don't know. It could just be the fact that I'm older
Yeah.
as well. Like as you said, it's not for me.
You're jaded.
Want a gritty reboot of the Hurricane? That's my thing.
I think that would work really well.
Christopher Nolan style Hurricane wrestler.
It would be cool.
That will happen at some point, but WWE will do it. And yeah, it will be terrible. It'll
If it
feature
was
the
Titus
Miz.
O'Neil.
I'd be okay with that.
Get out of town. Would you be okay with that?
I don't know.
That fart was the dog, if you heard that. Was that a fart or a stomach rumble?
No, I think he just hit the.
I didn't hear anything.
Okay. This match had my favourite moment of the whole event, which you could probably guess, which was the moonsault, the sort of corkscrew moonsault and the slow-mo of it. When Charlotte did that and absolutely battered Nikki, kicked her in the head.
Absolutely nailed
and
her.
against the barriers as well. But that slow-mo, that was incredible. I want a gif of that slow-mo.
It was good.
Do you want an NFT of that slow-mo?
I mean,
Oh, well, probably
possibly. But yeah, that was absolutely stunning. It was like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
I mean, Charlotte's moonsaults generally
Yeah.
just...
But it's just the form of her, the perfect form in that slow-mo. Like sometimes they show some of the flips in slow-mo and then especially the way they connect. And you think maybe a slow-mo wasn't a good idea there, but this was the perfect use of it. The match itself, I don't know. I mean, what do you think? It was all right. Pretty
I
good?
think
Got better?
this was the first match on the card that I enjoyed.
Oh, okay.
How deep into the card was this match?
I think this was match 7,
Fucking hell.
maybe 6.
Yeah, I liked it because of that moonsault, and then they had a couple of cool things like the double suplex thing.
And I think something like Nikki Cross's counters were really cool, like the riptide into the DDT looked cool.
Yeah.
There was a nice crossbody to the outside. There's some really good spots in this, I think. And I think the general energy and pace of it was cool.
Yeah, she broke out of the figure 8, and then eventually tapped out of it at the end, of course.
Yeah.
But I guess the big story is the fact that Charlotte wins yet again at a pay-per-view,
She's undefeated at SummerSlams.
and you think this is the start of a streak.
I think so, because like this goes back to 2014.
I love how you're subtly trying to add the SummerSlam Sam in there as well, not SummerSlam.
SummerSlam.
All that kept going through my mind was different like conspiracy theories to do with AEW, because I just think AEW will just have a mark on Charlotte's head. I think
Do you
they will.
reckon?
I think they want Charlotte more than
I'd say they want her, but I can't see Charlotte.
They've got Andrade, her future husband. They've got her dad.
Have they got her dad?
He turned up at Treble Arb. Treble Arb?
But they haven't. Okay, they haven't got her dad, but they're gonna get her dad.
Also, would that be a reason for Charlotte to go to Actually, that's a reason for her to stay in WWE.
Well, yeah.
Considering
we'll
what
see.
you were showing us about Ric Flair earlier, I'd want to distance
I
myself
showed the guys
from
a
him.
photo of Ric Flair giving a Lady Fellatio in what we think is a coach.
But it looks like a train, and there's like why? It just looks like an old man going down on a woman on a train.
It's definitely Ric Flair.
I want to believe it's Ric Flair because I think it's a good
Where
rumor
did you
to
get
spread.
it? Did you get it from a wrestling Reddit or something? Is that
Got it from Rick himself.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're on a
okay.
WhatsApp group together.
Snapchat. Oh, WhatsApp, nice.
Called Old Dudes Banging Pussy.
So back to serious wrestling chat. I think Charlotte, basically, I think WWE are going to now try and keep like appeasing her and doing everything they can to keep her happy so that she doesn't jump ship eventually.
They haven't seemed too concerned about people jumping ship in the past, though.
I know, but Charlotte, like the legacy there and the history and the fact that she's the most decorated female performer, like she's their biggest female star of all time, right?
I mean, is she in danger of basically becoming the Hogan of the women's division?
Depends what she says.
Yeah, I think she's, well, apart from that, I think she's close to that already.
She's very young for all of that success.
Yeah, but she's great,
I mean,
though.
she is amazing.
Yeah.
She's amazing in the ring.
But she just wins at pay-per-views, you know. She just always wins at pay-per-views, pretty much. And I don't have a huge problem with it because I love Charlotte, but
I don't have a huge problem with it, but I do feel like kind of because she is such a level above almost all of her contemporaries, it makes it very difficult to have a credible feud with her that doesn't end up with her taking the title back at some point.
well, yeah.
Yeah. But you got Sasha back, you got Lynch back,
Yeah.
you got
Wrong,
Bianca Bellaire
wrong
as well.
show though. They're all on
Where's
Smackdown, aren't
Bailey at the moment?
I don't know.
they? Don't know where Bailey is.
She's killing it on the mic over the pandemic era.
Have we seen her since WrestleMania? Because she wasn't at WrestleMania either, was she?
Hosting WrestleMania. I don't know. Bring back Bailey. Bailey's great.
Yeah. Okay, well, there you go. I just think, it doesn't mean much when Charlotte wins now, does it? It's not like, oh, what a moment. So,
Not
okay,
really.
there you go. Okay, let's move on to the next key match that we're going to talk about, which is the penultimate match, WWE Championship between Goldberg and Bobby Lashley. Any thoughts on the early parts of this match? The entrances, Goldberg's long entrance, the knock on the door. The guy who knocked on the door absolutely nailed his role.
He was a good security guard.
Do you reckon he's sweating beforehand? Like, oh my shit, my bit's coming up now.
How many knocks
Do I do it with a flat hand? Do I do it with my knuckles?
Needs to do a really good job as well because he needs that NXT debut at some point.
Does this match count as an Iron Man match for Goldberg?
It was long.
Surely it was the longest match he's been in for about 20 years.
Yeah.
So we watched this one together, which meant that we got to have a little guess. John suggested we guess how long the match would be. I said 2 minutes 50. Sam said, what, 6?
I went for 4 minutes 20.
Oh, what did you say,
I went
John?
6:30.
And it was like
I think it
6.
was 7. by the time.
Yeah, well done, John.
Congratulations to Goldust for nearly hitting double digits in a match.
Gold Dust. You're
Gold
obsessed,
Dust?
mate.
I wish Goldust was in that match. That was a great joke as well. Damn it.
I have to say, I didn't like this match, but I was ready to absolutely hate it because I thought it was going to be an absolute squash of Lashley. It wasn't that. Only he won via a weird way of winning, actually. Like, was it a technical knockout or just?
I feel like this is Goldberg almost saying, I'll do the match, but I won't be pinned and I won't be submitted. So figure something out.
Yeah, maybe you're right. It does. I mean, the ending was weird because he got nobbled. What's the word when you hit someone in the leg like that? Is it nobbled? Hobbled?
Yeah, nobbled. You nobbled him.
He nobbled him.
Definitely
MVP
not
nobbled him in the back of the knee, and it took ages to go down from that. Like MVP hit him and nobbled him.
Nobbled him.
And then
with his
he took a
cane.
couple of steps and then realised he got hit and
Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to go down.
go down. And then they couldn't continue the match after a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I quite enjoyed that we got a match and that some stuff was happening and we were seeing Goldberg like taking some bumps, getting chucked around. That's nice
Yeah.
to see. I
Did
know
a
we
lot of
saw
selling,
it
actually.
with Braun before, but then there's just such a wet ending. It's so shit for that kind of ending to happen.
I normally love a referee stoppage, but it needs to be because someone has absolutely brutalised the other person, not
There's
because
blood
it's like
all over the place.
Yeah.
old man's knee can't take it anymore.
Yeah,
That's just a bit like...
it's to get the guy off the guy. Like,
Yeah.
right, we need to stop this so we can pull them apart.
There's-
But no, he was just on the edge.
a match, 2015 NXT, when I think Kevin Owens first turned heel and won the NXT title from Sami Zayn, and that was a referee stoppage.
Oh, yeah.
And that is a perfect example of how it needs to be. Like, kind of, he was powerbombing Sami Zayn over and over again until the ref had to step between them.
Do you remember that one with Brock versus Orton where
Yeah.
he did Orton the hard way with his elbow?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was
I
great.
do remember
That was
I love
great.
that when it pulled away, you saw a pool of blood.
Blood
and it was like,
everywhere, yeah.
That was
killed
nice.
off Randy Orton.
We've always, all of us wanted to do that to Randy at one point.
Clean cut Brock with his nice short hair. Yeah, I remember that. No jeans. Incredible.
Bootcut jeans, don't forget.
Oh, God. So, yeah, and then obviously we had Goldberg's son run in and
fucking
we
hate
had the
this.
Hurt Lock.
Which is weird. I remember him turning up. You remember when Goldberg first came back in and he got his son into the ring and his son took his shirt off? Do you remember this?
Yeah.
Was this a dream you had?
No.
no, I remember this.
Yeah, but he's grown up a lot since then. Like,
I feel like they're missing a trick here. Like, they should name him like Goldboy or something. Like
Goldberg. No, what's Gilbert?
Gilberg.
Gilberg's taken though. I like the idea of him being like Goldberg's little sidekick kind of thing.
Yeah.
Goldberg Jr.
Bronsberg?
Oh,
What's the
Bronsberg.
small iceberg called?
Ice Cube?
Ice Cube. Call him Ice Cube.
He comes out with a rapper gimmick.
We'll keep workshopping that. Yeah, and then obviously you had the MVP bit where he was sort of grovelling, saying, "Oh, that could have been anyone. How was he supposed to know it was Goldberg's son?" And we thought, you don't need to say that. That was a fine reaction, I think. If somebody comes and grabs you, even if it is Goldberg's son who you've just beaten,
From behind as well.
yeah,
Like, jumped on
then
his back.
fucking do him with a full Nelson.
This is not the first time where we've seen kind of MVP jump straight into like a script and start kind of like talking up a story. I kind of get the impression sometimes that what's happened is like they're all given these scripts by the writers as to what's meant to happen, and MVP is the only one who actually reads it. And so all this stuff goes down, and then he's just like, no, it was Goldberg's son. We had no idea. And everyone else is just like, come on, dude, it doesn't matter. It's fine.
They rely on MVP so much to sell.
They really
all
do.
of the storylines with Lashley. Like, he does such a good job.
Yeah. I mean, I love MVP, but I just think, do you know what? The problem is just Goldberg, and just utilizing Goldberg again and again and again. It just speaks to WWE's intentions, and they are not that looking to the future, you know?
Not at all.
Well, apparently the plan is to obviously continue this because there's going to be a big match in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, is that where it's headed?
Crown Jewel. I saw that just before we recorded, and that makes a huge amount of sense, right? They want Goldberg in Saudi.
Oh, I wonder how much Goldberg's getting paid for that.
£1 billion.
Must be
Dollars,
more,
actually.
right?
He wouldn't be able to work it out. So, yeah, I mean, I think in a way, it's a nice change to have him stick around for a couple of matches and not just come for a little program and leave once he's won or lost. But to lose and stick around is a bit different.
The thing is that he's not going to cop another loss to Lashley now, is he? He's got to get revenge, which means that whatever happens
that's a
next
good
is either
point.
going to be a dusty finish or even worse, another title run.
And they love a title change at those Saudi shows, don't they?
Yeah.
Goodness.
Oh, dear.
Because that's where the Fiend won it off Rollins, isn't it, for the first time?
Well, Lashley's had the belt for 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good run as well,
And he's
I think.
been a really dominant, good champion.
Yeah.
And it's a
And
real
also,
shame.
we've got Big E, who's got the Money in the Bank newspaper? Money in the Bank.
That's a good twist on it.
I mean, they're not going to want to have 2 black champs. WWE, are they?
Probably not.
Oh, that's a
So my
statement that I
thought
don't
is
know if I agree with.
they are going to want to get Big E to have his moment, to have his big moment. So let's strip the title off Lashley.
And Big E
They're
takes it off
progressive,
Goldberg.
but they're not that progressive, is what I'm trying to say. I mean, they're not progressive, but they like to appear progressive.
Yeah. Who knows?
You two don't want to get involved in
No,
this.
we-
I don't
staying.
know. I
don't-
I actually think WWE have quite a lot of different ethnicities representing different titles, and
They are usually bad guys, though, those ethnicities. Actually, well, maybe that's
Bianca
not harsh,
Belaire was a
actually.
face, and
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
Kofi's a
we'll get on to
face.
Bianca Belaire very soon and what's happened to her. But yeah, no, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Although we won't see what happens because we will not be watching that show.
We're not doing a review show for that.
Absolutely not.
Come on, we should do a review pod for that one.
Hey, Sam and I have done quite a few mini reviews. I think it's about
Oh,
time
do a solo
you
one.
and Brett
Ooh.
are solo.
The Brett
4
John
hours.
Saudi special.
Oh, yeah.
Or a watch along, a full on watch along for
Brett
the whole
loves
thing.
the Saudi shows. I know he goes on about on the pod that he hates all that stuff, but secretly he loves it.
He's not here today because he's doing work for the Saudi government.
Yep.
Yeah, for free.
Can't take Brett.
Pro bono.
All right, that was that match. So obviously, Bobby Lashley retained. And now we're going to talk about the Universal Championship match, which I think we're all pretty excited for, right? Roman Reigns versus John Cena.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was excited for it.
Yeah, you were quite down on this. It's always quite weird watching matches together because we don't do it very often. And obviously, when I'm watching by myself, I just fully, I'm taking it in, forming my own opinion. But as soon as there's somebody next to me going, I don't know about this, I'm heavily influenced.
I feel
I'm like,
really bad
is this
about
good?
that.
Is
I'm
this good?
sorry.
I don't know if I'm enjoying this.
What were your issues with it, Sam?
So, as I was saying to you guys when we were watching earlier, I think the thing was, like, with Roman Reigns and John Cena, they both kind of have a very set repertoire of, like, the spots that they go through and the moves that they do, more so than I feel with other wrestlers. And I think when that happens in the match, you don't end up with a huge amount of kind of original content, so to speak. It feels like kind of both of them are just playing the hits. And so you don't end up with that kind of X Factor moment that's really interesting. And I think kind of to contrast that, if you look at like the Daniel Bryan Roman Reigns feud, it was excellent because kind of Roman had to bring a new, more aggressive style to the table to counteract how good of a wrestler Daniel Bryan was. Whereas the story for this match is John Cena can pin Roman Reigns. And so you just basically had 20 minutes of almost AA, Superman punch, roll up, AA, Superman punch, roll up, and eventually Reigns goes over. And I just thought it was a bit meandering.
Ooh, I disagree. I liked it. I thought it built really well. I liked how, for the first half, it was kind of Reign dominating Cena. And then sort of Cena sort of working his way back in it through, AAs, basically. But the Avalanche AA,
The Avalanche AA was the highlight of the match.
Yeah, Reigns in midair. I said it's not something you see very often at all. And obviously, we had a fucking great crowd who were pretty into it, and that makes a massive difference for me. Like the near falls they had during the match were a couple of times I was like, oh,
yeah.
So
and Roman Reigns isn't leaving WWE, guys, so Roman Reigns wasn't going to lose.
I suppose kind of my question is like, as Roman Reigns' self-professed biggest fan,
Yeah.
where do you rate this in comparison to his other matches in other feuds over the last year?
Well, the weird thing is that we haven't had these matches in front of crowds, so it's like it immediately is elevated. It is immediately elevated because it was in front of a crowd.
Sure.
And you got those pops and those moments, and you had Roman smack talking the crowd right from the start.
Yep.
You had loads of great stuff. Like when he's talking to the camera, I just think Reigns did his job brilliantly and perfectly. In terms of match quality, it's not up there as one of the best.
I don't think it compares to like Cesaro, Jey Uso, or Daniel Bryan. I think all three of those feuds were quite iconically interesting in their own way. You can go back and point out individual moments from those matches that kind of really helped tell the story, and I just felt like this was almost a means to an end.
I feel with the examples you used there, I feel they did a really good job of the story, the build story, continuing within the ring.
Yeah.
I don't think they necessarily did a good job with that on this match.
No, they didn't, did they? Really, there was none
I
of
still
that.
enjoyed it.
I mean,
I thought it was a good match.
I think it, like, I don't want to shit on it too much because I think it speaks to how good Roman Reigns has been over the last year. That I think this match was poor in my opinion, but I think kind of it's only because the bar that he's set over the last year has been exceptionally high for him, but not just for him, but for generally wrestling. I think he has been a main event draw, and I think this was the first time I was a little bit like, feels a bit like phoning it in.
I think he's the only interesting thing in WWE at the moment.
I think that's probably pretty fair, to be honest.
Disappointed the Usos didn't get involved in somehow. I thought there was going to be some shenanigans around that. But I like the fact Cena's come back after all this time, and his first match back, he lies down for Reigns for it. I think. I respect that.
And it was a very SummerSlam main event.
Yeah.
And because actually, when you can't imagine Cesaro or Jey Uso headlining. Obviously,
No, absolutely not.
You could definitely have had Daniel Bryan or the Daniel Bryan Edge match, which that was so great.
So good, that match.
But I wasn't watching it with any disappointment at all. I wasn't thinking, oh, this is no good. So yeah, I liked it. And then, who do we see? We hear some music and we
Sam
think
called this as well beforehand.
we think
To be
it's
fair,
Brock
I
Lesnar.
called like 4 or 5
Yeah,
He did
wrestlers.
say
let's-
also The Rock and
Yeah, he said
someone
The
else
Rock
as well.
Well, first he said A Rock, so we just thought it was like a big stone. Then he said The Rock, so that narrowed it down quite a lot. Then what was the other one you said? You said 3 people.
Okay, so Brock was in that list.
Yeah, Brock was the last one. I can't remember who the...
There's definitely a third one.
There was another one. Who was it?
Oh man,
Daniel Bryan.
Bryan would have been the big disappointment because that
Yep.
then means.
I mean,
not
we did also at
AEW
one
bound.
point say, could it be CM Punk? Because that would be huge. He's like, I'm back. And he just switches, like each pay-per-view just switches back and forth, earning fucking millions of dollars. But no, it was some hillbilly guy with a cross between Otis
You really didn't like
and
the new
Tyler
look.
Bates
Wow.
beard with a top-knot ponytail thing, which just looks fucking awful.
Adam is now pointing at Sam to try and get some
Yeah, I
some
disagree.
validation here.
Come on.
So like the thing with Brock Lesnar is I like it in the way where like when you're playing a video game and you get character customization and you can make the characters look really cool, or you can just make them look as stupid as possible because it's really fun.
I like the look. I remember back in the day there was that photo of Brock with a beard and everyone was like, this is the Brock Lesnar we want. We want Brock with a beard.
Oh, just the beard would have been great. Just the beard, because that's enough of a difference. Like, oh shit, he means business. He's been away. He's just let his beard grow. Oh my God, so gruff. But then he's done that with his hair and he's stuck on boot-cut jeans with some black shiny shoes.
What I worry about, Adam, is that out of the 3 of us, John is the probably objectively, the most fashionable and kind of. I think so. No, you don't. You look horrified.
I'm just
by
like,
this.
because you fucking big up John all the fucking time. He's the most good looking. He's the most cool. He's the most
What
fashionable.
people say,
I
Adam.
mean, he's not the funniest out of the 3 of us.
Oh, that's harsh.
I mean, but that still could be a dig to me. He thinks he's the funniest. I mean, no. I mean, I sort of agree with Sam. Yeah, you're cool. Whatever.
If John says
But-
someone's cool, then we should agree with him.
I think
No,
fashion.
not
I
on
think
this.
clothes-wise, bootcut jeans was a weird choice. I admit that.
Yeah.
But I like the facial hair and I like the top knot thing.
I mean,
that's cool.
you love Mickey James, so we know you like the sort of boot cut. Or, you know, if he'd had some little denim patches sewn on, and
I think she turned up in Impact recently, guys. Actually.
She's doing big things in Impact at the moment.
Okay, it's time to start that Impact review show.
making an impact.
Is it Impact? No, it's NWA. She's doing
Oh, is it?
yeah, she's doing like Empower with
Oh,
like
yeah.
5 R's at the end of it, which is like
I've heard good things about that show, but I've not watched it.
But Brock Lesnar,
Good to have him back.
I'm happy he's back because it works really well, the dynamic. Like, who
Especially
was
with
Reigns
Heyman, yeah.
going to go with? But now the whole Heyman thing, and I like that Brock is looking a bit different, but I cannot get over that. I cannot get over those jeans.
What sort of jeans would you have him in?
If he's
pints?
got to wear jeans, just wear sort of standard fit, slim fit, not skinny, just
Do you reckon
straight,
Brock can get his
pair of
cars into a
Levi's.
slim
like
fit
mechanic jeans. That would have worked better with that vest.
I like the idea of him coming back with a mechanic gimmick, actually.
Yeah, a bit of grease.
Overalls, yeah, a bit of grease smeared on his face.
Yeah,
He could have a wrench he hits people with.
he could come out from under the ring on one of those little wheelie things.
Oh, yeah, they slide onto the cars with.
Yeah.
Did you see what he's been doing in his time off?
Hunting.
Butchering.
I was going to say, like writing a country album.
He's been
Butchering?
Yeah, trying his hands at being a butcher.
Oh, that fits, doesn't it? I can imagine him cutting up bits of meat with a big
Sounds
cleaver.
quite good with a sword.
With his hands.
Oh. So yeah,
I'm not excited for Brock Lesnar being back.
It'd be interesting to see what Brock we get. Whether we get Brock where he's kind of invested and he puts on puts in a bit of effort, or whether we get the sort of disinterested Brock where he just a couple of Germans, F5, good night.
I feel like with both Brock and Goldberg at the top of the card, once again, it just feels a little bit like we're in a bit of a loop.
We 100% are, yeah.
yeah.
And I'd be a bit worried about that because AEW are making waves.
There's a lot of
Yes.
weird stuff going on in WWE, like both on TV and behind TV. It's a weird time.
Yeah, it sounds like there's change coming in the general direction, which doesn't sound all... It doesn't sound like the change is aimed at our kind of demographic, is what I would say.
Oh, do you reckon like more kiddies?
I think so. I think kind of the impression I'm getting is that it's going to be a bit of a return to how things have been in the past in a kind of more... Well, I mean, you guys saw the press release about no more midgets.
No, I didn't
It's
see
not the press release, the leak. They
I was going to say
no,
that's bold.
WWE
used that
had a leak, and they've been quoted as basically saying, "No more guys from the Indies, no more under 30s, and no more midgets."
no more under 30s.
Do you mean like no more,
no more
wrestlers
over
under
30s?
6 foot? Or you
Well, I
were
mean,
talking about
no, the literal
more-
wording was "no more midgets." I don't know what that means.
Right, okay. I thought
But
that was
I
just your
think
spin
that's
on
kind
it,
of
which
in-
I was a bit worried about.
Macho
No,
Man
I'm-
Randy Midget must be
Yeah.
gutted by that news.
Hornswoggle is really upset, but realistically, I think kind of they mean people like Daniel Bryan, like kind of people who are
Oh,
under
so
6
not actually
foot.
mini wrestlers.
Yeah,
like
no,
actually-
they're not
Adam
talking
Cole
about. They're not talking
type
about
people.
literal midgets. Yeah, they're talking about like the indie style, kind of under 6 foot, 200 pound.
Fuck, really? Oh,
That's the rumor, is what I would say.
I feel
Like,
like that comes around a lot though with them. They always kind of
It's a way to lose us as fans, definitely, and like a lot of people like us who like purists who enjoy good wrestling of all forms. But there is still a lot of people in America who will want to see
there's a lot of people in the UK.
big men fighting big men.
I mean, playing devil's advocate is that there's maybe an argument for that. Why compete with AEW in a medium that you're not going to win in?
Yeah, I suppose WWE have made their fortune, but not necessarily being a wrestling company.
No.
Anyway, we should probably get back on track because I've realised we're sat here, we're chilled at John's place. We haven't had to watch 4 hours, so we're not trying to rush out a podcast. And we've already done 40 minutes. And we've only done 3 matches.
Oh, right.
Wow.
The dog's pig's ear is nearly done as well, so
Yeah, the dog is, I mean,
he's chowing. He's like Ric Flair in that lady's vagina. He is fucking chowing down.
He has made a pig's ear of that.
it's I think it's amazing that Jones, throughout the whole time we were watching, was just chilling, coming up and down, walking, and then for this, it was like, "Oh, you're recording a podcast, are you? I'll get the pig's ear out." It's probably not even picking up on the volume, but on the microphones, but it's just quite amusing. Anyway, let's move on then to best of the rest. So this is where we pick out a moment or a match or anything else we particularly enjoyed. There were a couple of other good matches. One particularly big one we can pick out. But John, what do you want to pick for your best of the rest?
It's going to have to be Edge versus Seth, I guess.
Was this match of the night?
This was my match of the night.
I think it probably was for me, yeah. Go on, John.
I liked it. It didn't blow me away, but there's some nice bits in it, like the spear counters were cool, especially into the pedigree. I've never seen that before.
Well, this had some narrative in it. Like you were saying, how there were with Roman and Cena, there's nothing that's calling back to the feud. This had stuff that calling back to the feud, with the whole using the glam slam, because of Seth referencing Beth Phoenix and stuff like that. And you had some interesting stuff.
Brood entrance was weird.
I hated that, and I wrote down, how dare they deny the fans the "you don't know me," but then seconds later it happened.
The thing is that it's a huge kind of revisionist history of what the Brood was.
When it happened, I didn't realise it was the Brood entrance until they mentioned it on comms.
I recognised it, but I was a little bit like, it doesn't really work without Gangrel and Christian there, and obviously Christian wasn't going to be turning
They could have got
anytime
Gangrel
soon.
back.
Gangrel's not doing anything much, is he?
It would have been great to see him there in a flouncy white shirt and some...
I feel like Edge missed a trick here. He should have done the Gangrel spit, but maybe that's a thing that doesn't happen in post-COVID world anymore.
Times. Yeah. Very small entrance as well. If that was on a big stage, maybe you could do it, but he's surrounded by people. But yeah, the thing is, this match, when it did eventually get going, it was pretty slow at the start, I thought, and I felt a bit distracted. Not much was happening, but then it did build really nicely, and I think there was a lot to enjoy in there, especially from Edge. I thought Edge was doing some great stuff, bringing out the all the Edge pund moves,
the execution and the educator.
Yeah.
I think this was Edge's best match in his current WWE return to date.
He's had the best match of all time with Randy Orton. Don't
that
forget.
was all right. That match, probably not as good as this match. Actually.
Sam moves on.
I thought this match was better than it should have been, and I think it was a little bit slow in places, but generally, kind of, it built to a nice crescendo and had a decent narrative with the looking for the stomp and not landing it.
Yeah, I did hate how the commentators were really hammering that home, though. Like, the stomp could end Edge's career. I feel like they mentioned Edge's career ending every couple of minutes.
The commentary in general was just dog shit.
I'm a bit, I'm not as high on this match as you guys. I thought it was all right.
What was your match of the night, then?
It was probably the women's match.
Okay.
Cool. Feels like you could have chosen that for your best of the rest, and then I could have used...
Well, we've already talked about it.
Oh, you're not talking about Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belaire?
Oh, I am definitely not talking about that.
Fucking hell. Match of the night, imagine. Did you notice the bit where Edge did the spear through the ropes and then, what's the guy's name who we don't like on comms? Matt Packerfee, I was going to call him then. Let's call him Matt Packerfee from now on.
Okay.
Matt Packerfee did, he said, holy words I can't say on Peacock.
On the cock.
He did say that, and that was actually pretty funny.
Try not to swear and then end up swearing. It's always the best thing when that happens.
I thought that move was a bit... Obviously, if you see that, you're comparing it to Big E, and it didn't look as good as Big E's.
No, that's true. I just like the fact that Pat McAfee said cock.
How do we feel about Edge's return?
Well, better than expected, I think.
I don't think he should have won this match, if I'm honest. I like this match. I think it was good.
Better than Edge expected.
Very nice.
It just feels like it's a bit weird. Obviously, he came back, was in that feud with Orton for ages, like a year, basically. Had the WrestleMania match, but that's the only match he's been anywhere near any belt.
This is the weird thing, is that now he's beaten Seth Rollins, that kind of puts him back near the top of the card, but he doesn't really fit into the top of the card at this point.
I'm kind of fine with that.
But then what does he do next? Jinder. That's the answer.
Yeah.
I just find it's a bit strange that you have that sort of big, nostalgia talent that everyone recognises. They haven't really used him in any of the belts.
Oh God, do you reckon we're going to get a John Cena Edge feud?
I'd be up for that.
I think Edge and Seth will carry on.
Yeah, I kind of think.
Actually, no, in WWE, we've got another 4 years of that. Yeah,
Because Seth's time for the championship match against Roman will come surely, unless Brock wins, or I don't know what's going to happen there. But there's nowhere for Seth to go either.
I think that's what makes me a little bit sad. Is I really want a Seth Rollins Roman Reigns feud.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, they must be going towards that at some point. It feels so obvious.
I feel like every single person who is challenging Roman at the moment is a pretender to the throne, and like John Cena was a kind of legitimate.
Yep.
Could this be the person to knock him off? And then it was like, I'm going to leave WWE if I lose. And it's like, okay, cool. So that settles that then. And now with Brock, it again feels like quite temporary kind of booking. Like, even if Brock goes over, can you really see Brock going over in the long term and having a bunch of feuds that make sense? It's kind of...
No.
So it seems to me like this might just be another Roman wins kind of thing.
It would be so WWE if they've had this massive long title reign from Reigns with Reigns, and they give the rub of taking that off him to someone that's part-time that they're not going to use very much, like Lesnar, rather than someone like Seth or,
Yeah.
You need, like, you just think of the people they've got in AEW, like, Darby or Jungle Boy, or like these young up-and-comers who, if they were to go and do it and win the title, they'd just be like, it would be a huge moment, and it would take them to the next level. WWE don't have anyone like that, do they?
No.
They also don't have... AEW is really good at keeping people at a level where they could challenge for the title at any time, like Darby could, Jungle Boy could legitimately title.
Yeah, well, that's true, yeah.
Whereas WWE doesn't have that at all. They have no mid-card. It's all just top of the card and lower card.
I feel like if the shit with Riddle in his private life hadn't have happened, and also the fact that they've kind of made him into a thicko comedy character, he could have been that kind of person. Like, he's got the talent, he's got the look.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that the WWE has filled with wrestling talent that they are just not utilising. You've got Keith Lee.
Yeah, Keith Lee.
Just doing nothing.
Yeah, they'll never do that they'll never pull the trigger on him.
And now they've just filled the top of the card with these old guys again.
I think that's the thing that hurts the most, is that, like, Edge, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, John Cena. It's 2021. Like, these are the names that you would have put up the top of the card in 2011. That's just rubbish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the first best of the rest. I had one note on best of the rest, which was, I thought it was a nice touch to bring out the Olympians, the Olympic gold medals of actual wrestling.
I fast forwarded this bit.
I was going to say, I thought it was a nice touch, but I fast forwarded it. I was like, oh, that's nice, FF. Match-wise, there's not an awful lot left to pick, but I would say that I thought the Usos versus the Mysterios was good.
I thought it was a decent match.
I thought Rey Mysterio was really good in that match. But
Yeah.
I love Rey
just-
Mysterio so
Usos.
much.
Is there anyone in wrestling with more like swagger than, like, they're so cool, the Usos? Just the stuff they do, the facials, the way they sort of work off of each other. Like when one of them's beating somebody in the ring, the other one's just looking cool on the side. I love like the new direction that they've taken a bit with the whole Roman stuff. They're even cooler than before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been doing a bit of tag team stuff. It must be close to 20 years now, like when they're doing the face paint stuff.
Face paint stuff was fucking awful.
So long ago.
That's when I first got back into wrestling. It's
Yeah.
like, well, these guys are fucking boring.
And they did that for a long time. They've really honed their craft. They've gotten so much better. They're
Listen,
good.
Jones just bought the vegetarian dog ear right next to the recorder, and his feet are all over the place. And I
I'll
was
come
worried-
get him. I'm on it.
I was worried he was going to press stop then. But here we go. Live pet parenting. Oh, you didn't need to punch him. Why are you sticking your finger up his bum?
Whoa, that didn't happen.
Okay, so that, Usos Mysterios was probably my... Oh, did you see? I sent it to you guys. You didn't reply. I did the old Victoria rum augmented reality Rey Mysterio mask.
Yeah, that was quite terrifying,
I
that.
saw that.
Yeah.
It feels like one of the photos they use when they're sort of explaining about a serial killer. I'm like, oh yeah, he's a normal guy. Look at this wacky photo he does.
Actually, I don't want to talk about that. I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, let's move on real quick.
Actually, honourable mention, I actually quite enjoyed Priest versus Sheamus.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. two big guys
I was happy for Priest, actually. It's nice to see him get a title run.
beating each other
And there
up.
was a really nice bit in that where Sheamus was doing the sort of wax on the chest and the crowd would count along and he stopped and just to wind the crowd up, and I thought that was really good heel work. I like that.
It did have the bit where Byron Saxton was talking about Priest as someone who brutalizes people from behind.
Hey-oh.
This is why Byron Saxton's the best commentator in WWE.
Yeah. Sam, best of the rest for you? There's
I think
nothing
we've
left,
kind of
surely.
covered everything that's kind of really enjoyable about this SummerSlam.
Let's really start this podcast now and talk about worst of the rest.
Worst of the fucking rest. What was the absolute worst thing on here, Sam?
Ooh.
Oh,
Because
my
there's a lot
goodness,
to choose from.
It's really difficult.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with the low-hanging fruit here of the 5-minute segment towards the end with Johnny Drip Drip, The Miz, Xavier Woods.
really?
Life, water.
Do you know what,
was it?
actually?
Pure life.
No, I'm not going to go with that. That was bad. My worst of the rest for this SummerSlam, and generally, was the amount of advertising in it. The amount of product placement and just WWE stars kind of being like, buy this credit card, do this, get this phone deal, do this. Oh my God. It's just like, just come on. I want to watch wrestling. I don't want to watch like Charlotte Flair in a 5-minute pre-recorded advert talking to a CG character.
Oh, yeah, there was a
Hate
really
it.
bad one with Charlotte Flair in this, actually. What was it?
It was that one with bloody Caesar. And it's,
The credit card.
it's so
that was-
bad. So bad. I hated it. Absolutely hated it. And I think there was lots of it.
There was. I think there was something worse than that, though.
Me too.
Okay, we're going to talk about the same thing, probably. You go, John.
So I want to talk about Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair. Actually, Carmella versus Bianca Belair. No, Becky Lynch versus
Becky
Bianca.
fucking Lynch.
So I can't believe they fucked this up so badly. It feels like having Becky Lynch return would be such a home run. And it just was fucking awful.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great moment, like her coming back, right? As in, I thought it was great to get that big pop and then her come in, because you had the disappointment of it being Carmella potentially, and then you had the, okay, it's Becky, and then you get Becky saying, right, shall we turn, what did she say? Shall we burn this place down? Or like, basically saying, shall we have a fucking great match now in front of all these people?
Yeah.
And the crowd were like, yes. And then Bianca's like, yeah, let's actually do it. And they shake or whatever. And I was like, right, here we fucking go. And then you just get Bianca being buried.
What's the point of
Two
this?
moves, wasn't it? Punch
So
and a,
bad.
was it a man slam or something?
Manhandle?
Manhandle
slam.
Basically the rock bottom.
Yeah.
This just clearly was, holy shit, AEW are getting CM Punk. Becky's kind of ready. Let's get her in the SummerSlam. I feel, because surely she's not ready to wrestle or something. Like she's not
why do-
fully, because they just did one move. Because she did
I
one
know, I
move.
think
Why would
she's-
you bury Bianca like that? Why not have a match?
You're looking for logic where there is no
I
logic. Adam.
think,
Have a match.
but I think this is the thing. I think this is really disrespectful to its audience, because I think they could have had a match here, and the reason they haven't is because they obviously now want to save that match for something else. They want to drag it out. It's almost like they've got their reaction from, oh my God, it's Becky Lynch.
This could have backfired
And now
so easily.
they want another reaction when it's like, oh my God, here's a 20-minute match. It's just like, man, Bianca Belaire is a great wrestler.
Yeah.
One of the best women's wrestlers in the world. And we all know Becky Lynch is one of the best wrestlers in the world, full stop. I mean, so is Bianca Belaire.
I mean, she's not really, is she? She's like one of the best characters, and she's one of the best WWE wrestlers, but actually wrestling ability, she's not all that. So actually, when they said they were going to have a great match, I was like, oh, I hope Becky can do this with Bianca. Like, she's not fantastic, is she? But it was really exciting to have her back. But the crowd were expected to cheer Bianca losing like that. Like, it's face versus face, and it's somebody who they've built up as like the future of women's wrestling, and had this amazing main event with two, women of colour, and then they fucking go and literally bury her like that. And then at the end, it was like Bianca facing off with her. Becky looking at her, being like, "Yeah, you're good, and she's like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, all right, yeah." It's like, what the fuck?
I think there's becoming an unsettling trend of WWE champions who are quite dominant, like having their first major run all of a sudden just being stopped by the biggest star in unceremonious circumstances, and I don't think it reflects well on WWE at all.
Like Kofi, isn't it?
Exactly
like
like Kofi.
And 26 seconds the match was.
It's so disrespectful to Bianca Belaire.
That's just awful. Everything about it was awful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you say, like that should have been huge. Like in the back of my mind, I've been looking forward to Becky coming back, thinking, what are they going to do? And then they do that. And I was really annoyed. I went to bed last night. I was lying in bed, and I was just like, that's really fucking annoyed me.
It was awful.
Yeah.
Worst thing we've ever seen in the ring.
Really? Oh no, that's just the John classic.
It's amazing that we had a card with an Eva Marie match.
I know. I really wanted to talk about that Eva Marie match as well, because that was... Oh, God, that's terrible.
This is where I was going to talk about my conspiracy with signs, because when Becky came out, all of a sudden there were about 4 or 5 different Becky Lynch signs in the crowd. Do you know what?
Really?
And when John Cena came out later, there were specific John Cena signs.
There's a point during the Roman Reigns John Cena match where they cut to one fan who's like literally hands on his face, like doing the scream kind of pose.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think, oh, surely they must just be filling the audience with plants who know they're going to be on camera.
Well, it's like, do you think that many people would come to the main event with Becky signs?
I think WWE hand them out, though.
Well, yeah, that's a conspiracy.
So.
My favourite one was Vince loves big guys.
He does love big guys.
He does. He really does.
Do you reckon that was handed out, though? Do you reckon that was a plant?
By Vince.
Do you reckon it was Vince?
I need people to know. Oh, dear. Anyway.
What's your worst of the rest, Adam?
That. 100% that. Because really, Eva Marie versus Nikki... No, not Nikki. Speaking of Nikki... Sorry, did you see... was it Nikki Bella or one of the Bella twins also said yesterday, she was being interviewed on the red carpet.
I saw this.
That it was an absolute travesty that Bianca's lost the belt, and that was her worst moment. She was asked what was her favourite moment. She said, I don't really have any, but my worst moment was this.
It was a really shit pay-per-view.
Yeah. But yeah, Eva versus Alexa Bliss. What the fuck is Eva Marie doing back? What's she doing on a pay-per-view? Even if this was on Raw, you'd say that was dog shit.
Yeah.
What is she doing wrestling Alexa Bliss when you've got Piper Niven there?
Who's called like Dewdrop?
Dewdrop. Why? Anyone know why or what that means?
I haven't been watching the weekly shows, to be honest, so I haven't been following. But I do know that I like Piper Niven or Dewdrop as a wrestler, and she was the most entertaining part of that match.
Yeah. I just could Eva Marie reminds me of when I was first watching wrestling again, and it was the divas, everything we hated about women's wrestling. She's got no talent. She's probably got hundreds of millions of Instagram followers, and that's probably what it's all about.
To be fair, as a manager or a valet for
she should work.
Dewdrop, I'm fine with it. You know what? The crowd hate her. That's exactly what you want from a heel. Great. I just think there's again a lot of talent in WWE. And then to see the less talented people getting time on the card, getting more time than Bianca Belaire got, that's a disgrace.
I also think Alexa Bliss is getting off lightly here because I hate that fucking gimmick. It reminds me of Al Snow and Head.
It's so weird, the gimmick now that Bray Wyatt has been fired.
She's putting her all into it.
She is.
It's just pretty shit. Like a winking dolly is scaring grown.
She doesn't need the gimmick is the thing. She's an amazing wrestler.
Yep. What was more scary, the winking dolly or the animated waxwork of AC Slater that we saw?
Oh my God, he looked amazing. Do you not think he looked
He looked so waxy. He looked fake. That's what I mean. I mean, I was looking thinking, wow, he looks in good shape. And then you look closely at his face and that's not.
Has Saved by the Bell been rebooted or something?
Yeah, it was. He was in it. He was in the reboot. And Mr. Belding was in the reboot, I believe.
What was Slater?
Screech didn't make it. The Screech is dead, isn't he?
Is Screech dead?
Screech died.
Yeah.
Dustin Diamond.
Oh, rest in peace, Dustin.
I know. You've probably seen him going down on, he's got sex tapes.
I think he has got sex tapes.
Yeah.
I remember it going around uni, I think.
Yeah.
We should watch that as a watch along.
I think I've seen that before.
Is that wrestling
related? The one, he's just lying in a bar having a wank?
It's best, yep.
Or maybe I imagined that.
Maybe you dreamt that again. There was a bit where Bianca Belaire said, if you dream it, it can happen. And I was just like, oh, fuck, really? I don't want that for some of my dreams. And Sam, you've been dreaming about men wanking in baths.
No, not men. Dustin Diamond.
Dustin Diamond, thank you.
So what is he if he's not a man? Was he a boy?
Screech.
Was he a boy at the time? Okay, let's 100% move on. I think we can keep doing more worst of the rest, can't we?
I think we're kind of in danger of just really going down how negative.
Okay, Bro
Yeah,
versus
WWE.
AJ Nomos. That was all right.
It's fine.
Okay. All right. Well,
Drew Jinder was quick.
oh, I forgot about that. I mean, can you fucking believe it? No crowds. Drew wins the championship. Massive crowd. He has a shocking match. Not shocking match, just a pointless match against Jinder Mahal. I mean, it was pointless and shit. And again, on Raw, you'd be like, ugh, okay, whatever, fast
This
forward.
felt like
What I quite liked about this was they highlighted a lot of how Jinder was the prototype for Drew. How Jinder went away, came back, had a strong title reign. And Drew went away, came back, had a strong title reign. And I'm just sat there waiting for Heath Slater to come in. And yeah,
Maybe one day.
Oh, I wonder where he is these days. I reckon he's probably a producer.
He's at
somewhere.
Impact.
Is he?
Maybe.
If in doubt,
Not sure.
let's say he's at Impact.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the worst of the rest. Yeah, I don't think we enjoyed this hugely, which is a shame. It had its moments, but yes, star performer. Go on, ready, Sam
this
or
is
John?
hard.
Who wants to go first? Because I haven't really thought about this. Oh dear, that's not a good sign, is it? None of us can think of a standout.
I'm going to go with
performer.
Roman.
Okay, yeah, easy
Easy.
way out. I haven't got anything, Sam.
Do you know what? There was no star performer. This was a bad pay-per-view and no one really turned up.
I might go for Edge.
Oh, okay. Yes, good shout.
Um,
Did put a good show on.
Yeah, because that was my favourite match, and he did some good stuff, and he's doing very well. Yeah, I'll go for Edge. So you're going for the first time ever? No pick?
No pick.
Wow. There you go.
You
Brilliant.
asked me my score out of 10.
Score out of 10, overall rank, and we'll work out the average. I'm going to go first. I'm going to give this, which could well be one of my worst ever scores, actually. I'm going to give this a 4. John?
Oh, well, it's interesting because there's 10 matches, so I thought this is quite an easy one to give a rating out because I'm going to give it one rating for every match I enjoyed.
Oh, okay.
And I think I probably enjoyed 4 matches.
Okay.
So 4.
So if Sam
I
does
thought
that...
you were going to say this was your worst match. This was your worst pay-per-view of all time. 9
Look,
out
I
of
don't
10.
think those 4 matches were good matches, but actually I'm going to give 3.5. I'm taking it back 3.5 because I think Sheamus Priest I liked, but not.
Got to make it harder for Sam to work out the average as well.
Okay, well, I am also... Well, I'm giving it a 3 out of 10. And I feel like...
Wow.
I wish I wasn't because I want to love SummerSlam. I really do. But I just think this was a step backwards for WWE after what's been obviously a difficult period in time.
Yeah.
But like also WWE have been doing a lot of good things with their pay-per-views in recent times. And over the last 2 years or so, I think we've come a long way from 2018, 2017, and it felt like this was a big step backwards to that time. But yeah, 3 out of 10 for me, and overall rating of 3.5 out of 10.
That must be the lowest.
I think that might be.
Yeah,
Could it be the lowest ever?
It could
Because
be.
that... I don't know if it deserves that.
I think it does.
I just think what's upsetting about this SummerSlam isn't that it was actively bad or offensive. I think it was unambitious, and I think it was phoned in, and I think that's kind of criminal for one of the 4 big pay-per-views of the year.
Yeah, and the reactionary shit to... I honestly believe that Becky Lynch coming back how she did was reacting to CM Punk thing, especially that I'm back.
It's a perfect storm, isn't it? Because you can't look at a huge wrestling event without looking at other huge wrestling events that are happening around it. And the CM Punk return is one of the biggest things in wrestling in the last God knows how long.
Probably in our watching history, maybe.
Perhaps. I mean, for me, it's up there with Daniel Bryan coming back from retirement.
Yeah.
And it doesn't exist in a vacuum. And SummerSlam should be a showpiece event for WWE. And I just feel like there was nothing actively bad about this. This wasn't like when AEW kept a match going after Matt Hardy had a concussion, which was really bad. This was bad in the fact that it just was lazy. And I think that's so poor for the biggest wrestling company in the world actually finally being given a fight with AEW, who are kind of pulling up trees. It's a shame.
And like you say, all the advertising, and then like at least 2 matches that just had no place on any kind of wrestling show, let alone one of the big 4 pay-per-views. Yeah.
I'm really interested to hear what the feedback will be, because like maybe kind of internally, like us discussing it and watching it, it becomes quite negative, and negativity kind of breeds negativity. And I'd love to hear.
Are you saying you want some listener comments?
I want some listener comments.
Oh, have you got some?
Let's have a break and we'll come back with them.
Ricochet. Oh! X-Plex on the apron.
Hardest part of the ring.
All right, we do have some listener comments, and usually John would read them out, but as we are recording in his house, he's refused. No.
It's hosting fees, that is.
We didn't have time to put them on the shared doc, so I'm just reading them off my phone. We asked on Twitter for a highlight and a lowlight. Number 1 highlight, number 1 lowlight. Matthew Mann says, highlight for me was the psychology and storytelling in Rollins versus Edge, best in the show by miles. However, the straight disrespect they showed to Bellaire was awful. Great to see Lynch back, but she should never have been to the detriment of Bellaire and how over she has got with the belt. Little angry face emoji.
It's fair. I agree.
BBG Wrestling says, Can Becky's return be both? The pop when her music hit, she looks amazing, and looking badass, smashing Carmella, hooray. Giving Bellaire the Kofi treatment, boo.
God, imagine being Carmella. Like, kind of, we talk about how disrespected Bianca Belair is.
Actually,
Carmella's a good wrestler.
Reference as well is imagine being Sasha. Like, what's the deal there?
Yeah, I don't know if that was that. Did they just?
It sounds like she
Right
might have
around.
been injured.
Because obviously we're recording this after, so we haven't seen any spoilers or any reports or anything.
Well, I had a quick Google to see if I could find anything about Sasha, and it was like because it looked as if beforehand she wasn't going to be available, and then it was said that she was available, and I don't know.
It's very strange. It's
Very
strange. Good for her that she did avoid it.
Yeah. Lauren C., the referee, says Becky coming back was amazing and the potential of a great match with Bianca was exciting. And then they ruined it by having Becky beat Bianca in less than 30 seconds. Not cool, WWW. Adding a W. Not cool, WWE. Not cool. Carl Luckhurst says, very hard to find a highlight. It ended 4 hours... ? Low light, Bellaire squash, Sheamus losing, Eva Marie versus Bliss, Lashley versus Goldberg. Most people are agreeing. And then finally, Graham Hughes says Becky Lynch for both. The pop of the crowd when her music hit was a perfect way to lift the crowd back up after the clear disappointment around Sasha not being there. The short anticipation build up for them to fight and then crashing back down with that squash finish. That's it.
That's some real damning feedback. I mean, normally that's the great sort of kind of like, you guys are being a bit too harsh on this, and I think kind of the thing is that I don't think any of us take any joy in this being bad. Like, you know, especially us actually having to watch it, do a podcast about it. We want to enjoy what we're doing, and it's a real shame to kind of lay into WWE and just be like, this was shite. But
although I can't wait to read some reviews online about it.
Oh, they'll be scathing. And there are podcasts I occasionally listen to that are mega harsh on WWE all the time. I can't imagine what they're going to say about this.
I do like quite wallowing in this sort of stuff sometimes.
Yeah, it's such a dreadful thing to have done that to Bianca. Because you imagine if Becky had come back and that we currently had a heel champ who everybody hated and was booing, and then that happened. Because then the squash would be fine in a way, and it would be a huge moment. And you'd be like, yes, she's back. But you're just looking at Bianca and just feeling sorry.
I think even without that match, say if that didn't happen on this card, this was still a bloody awful pay-per-view.
Jones is now
drinking some water.
drinking some water in the background. But none of this might have picked up. The listeners might be like, those guys are hallucinating. I can't hear any dog. Anyway, I think what he's saying is, wrap it up, guys. So we will. The next podcast will be an all-out review. I imagine that will score higher than 3.5.
we can hope. I mean, they might have another exploding ring debacle.
Oh, could you imagine they fuck up that?
Or a concussion.
The first Punk match. Oof.
I know, Punk versus Darby Allin. It's going to be so interesting to see what Punk is like in the ring after 7 years.
Yeah. I'm a bit nervous about that because nostalgia can only get you so far. And there's a couple of bands that I absolutely love that broke up like 20 years ago that got back together. release a new album, but I can't bring myself to listen to that new album because I'm terrified it's going to taint how much I love that old stuff.
That's very sensible not to do it.
I'm a bit worried about that with Punk.
Okay. Well, John might not be on that pod because he can't watch any Punk matches ever again.
Too nervous.
If people want to get in touch, John, do you know it off by heart?
We are at Hardest Part Pod on the socials and Hardest Part Pod.
Hardest Part of the Ring.
Oh, Hardest Part of the Ring at gmail.com.
And you can buy us a virtual coffee, ko-fi.com/HPOTR. ko-fi, ko-fi.com/HPOTR. All right, thanks very much for listening. Thank you, John, for having us.
My pleasure, guys. Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Jones, for decimating that pig's ear throughout. And now he's finished.
No, there's still a bit of it left.
Yeah, but, you took it away from him.
And now he's seen it.
Oh, he wants it. All right, well, we're going to get involved in that.
What is this? The dog's getting top billing over me.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And thank you, Sam.
Leave me alone. I'm gone.
That was the hardest part of the ring.
That is the hardest part of that ring.
On the hardest